think they call it orbiting now, where like I was still like throwing him breadcrumbs that I would like come to his show and like do all this other stuff with him, but then I would just go dead silent. But then when I needed him, I'd be like, yeah, man, yeah, cool. Like I'd come back, which is not okay.
Such a toxic relationship.
It's toxic. I was toxic.
And it lost you a Patreon subscriber.
Was he a Patreon subscriber?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Sharehouse. I'm Mikey D, and I'm joined by my best friend in the entire nation,
Thanks,
Joel
man.
Harris.
Oh. Such a dog. You would take people's lunches in the canteen line, I bet.
I once got mugged in the canteen line. I went to a public school, and a kid was like, hey man, can I borrow 20 cents for a lollipop? And I was like, yeah, 20 cents, that's fine. Yeah, oh, you've got $5. Could I also borrow $5? And I went, yeah. And he's like, oh, I see you got a tenner in there as well. And he just did the really casual rolling and took all my money.
That doesn't feel like mugging to me because you didn't have the spine to be like, no.
It was a psychological mugging.
Yeah, no, he was the biggest bully in the school. He was like 2-3 years older than me.
Yeah, right.
And you knew Dennis. If Dennis was near you, give him...
He'd be a menace. And that's where the name came from.
And it's great to welcome back Radio
We're joined back by Radio Mike, star of his own shows. You can check them out at radiomike.com.au. Do you have that website?
I do, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Do you know the story behind that?
No.
So the guy
who... like, I don't, but don't tell it. I don't want to hear it.
I won't tell it.
Glad you got the tone.
It is an interesting story, but maybe not for this pod.
We're joined back for the first guest ever coming back twice, 2 different separate recordings.
Yes.
Radio Mike, welcome back.
Different studio this time as well, because last time I was at a different house.
You were.
Now I'm at a slightly better house, maybe. But
I'll say it's more
that.
loved and lived in here.
the last one had 3 stories, though.
Yeah, it's a lot of steps.
I like 4, actually.
4 stories. Imagine living in a 4
levels.
house.
I'm not sure how the logistics of stories and you know how some people call it ground level, some people call level 1. I don't.
True.
It's too much for me.
It is too much. Now, in between your absence from this show, we've loved having you, and we've loved having you as a cultural figure in the show.
We thought you were the best thing since sliced bread. Like, there was nothing negative in the air about you.
Nothing.
Ever.
Thank you.
And then we had a guest come on by the name of William Boyd. And this is a long time coming, I'm sure.
Yes.
William had a gripe, not with Sharehouse Living or with us.
Yeah.
With you, Radio Mike.
Yeah.
And then this was about late 2020. I sent him a message and being like, hey mate, I'm actually doing a show at the end of the month. As a thank you for like helping me start my podcast, I can throw a few tickets your way, come and see my show, right? To which he's like, oh mate, I'd love to. That sounds great, right? To which I sent him the link and said, oh, just let me know a date.
Yeah.
Left me on red. Right, he's a ghoster.
Mike
He's a
Liberale,
ghoster.
huh?
He's a ghoster. Yeah, Mike Liberale. We're not going Radio Mike. Sorry.
You know what's rough? I would have left you so much earlier than the RSS.
We didn't know he was bringing it. He kept it a surprise.
Yeah, it wasn't share house. It was he wanted to share time with me, and I ignored him.
That was really good.
Unwittingly.
He's getting him back on. Back on his side. This guy's good. It's a psychological mugging all over again.
Yeah.
William's gripe will have already played by now.
Long time ago.
As you know, you ghosted William Boyd for quite some time.
Yes.
He was offering you goods, services for free.
And it wasn't even like a nice ghosting, because it was more, I think they call it orbiting now, where like I was still like throwing him breadcrumbs that I would like come to his show and like do all this other stuff with him, but then I would just go dead silent.
Yeah.
That's the new like leading on is
It was like I was leading him on.
You kept him on that line. You just kept on reeling him. Occasionally you'd pull a little bit.
But then when I needed him, I'd be like, yeah, man, yeah, cool. Like I'd come back, which is not okay.
Such a toxic relationship.
It's toxic. I was toxic.
And it lost you a Patreon subscriber.
Was he a Patreon?
Patreon
And did he leave Patreon because of that?
of course.
I think that's what was brought up in the episode.
Oh, I feel so bad.
He was a fan,
Yeah,
bro.
now you feel bad because you've lost money.
Is he still a fan?
He's gonna run back now.
I think he is still a fan of Radio Mike. He still knows, as of last episode, he still knew your movements and what you were up to.
Yeah, cool.
He's got that validation. He's fine now.
I did not know he dropped off the Patreon. Like, that actually must have felt so bad for him. I feel bad.
We can get him on the phone during or after this if you want. But yeah.
This episode is titled Radio Mike Apologizes unless we change that in post.
Yeah.
So do you want to issue an apology to Cameron?
Didn't I do something? Didn't I do a statement or something?
You did a statement, but I feel like now we've got you here in the flesh. It's not a pre-prepared statement. You don't have your lawyers present. I just feel like something from the heart.
Yeah. William, like what I did was wrong, and I do apologize. Like I actually like hearing what they're saying about me. I feel really bad. I actually do feel bad, and like I guess like the question is, if you never came on this podcast, would I ever have apologized? And to be honest, the answer is no, which sucks.
Well, you wouldn't have known.
It sucks that it takes this for me to apologize, but I actually do. Like I actually do feel bad. Like. If there's anything I can do to... Like, do we get both of us on this show? And
I think that'd be nice.
We have, like, a mediator.
I think that's exactly what he wants.
Will has a podcast.
Does he?
What's
his podcast?
Friend of the pod. I was just on it as well. Yeah, it's great.
Maybe that could be the conciliation.
Well, because the thing is, like... I'm actually... And this is... I'd like this to stay in case you wanted to edit it. But, like... I'm actually not sure now... if this is still a joke or if he actually is really upset. Like, I actually, like... Because, like, I genuinely feel bad now. Which,
oh, no.
And now I don't know, like... Because part of me was like, well, it's, what I did was actually, like, kind of, like, bad. But at the same time, like, there was a degree of humor on this show around it. But now I'm not sure.
Just for the listeners who don't know exactly what you did, could you tell it from your perspective?
From memory, he messaged me and he... I think he was doing a show at the Comedy Fest. Is that right? And he was like, hey, come to my show. And I was like, yeah, sure, man. Like, I'll check it out. And then... he sent a link, and I guess I didn't go, which sucks. Like,
before that, he wanted to lend you his roadcaster.
I thought that was
needed
after.
One? Okay.
I wasn't sure if that was after, but he did offer me. I needed a roadcaster, and I said he offered to lend me his, and then I think I found someone else that had one that was maybe closer, so I just went to theirs.
Ian didn't message Will back up,
and I didn't, and. There's no excuse. There is no excuse, but like, I guess you don't often think that there's another person on the other side of your Instagram.
I did have a question for you regarding orbiting now that it's a new term that we're all familiar with.
Yeah.
Do you think you have other people currently in your orbit? Other Will Boyds just floating around?
Other Will Boyds? I don't think so, no.
No, okay.
But that being said, like, I get, like, a lot of people do DM me on... Insta, like just to like say, hey, like listening to your thing, or hey, Mike, like, and I just don't even like open a lot of them.
Sure.
Not that I like don't care, but like it's just there's a lot of messages that you can't actually read all of them.
I understand that.
You can't make more of the thing if you're too busy reading about people consuming the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's like
you're bogged in it.
If you have messaged me and I haven't seen it or opened it or just didn't reply, it's just because like I probably looked at what you said and was like, and then just like was doing something else at the time,
Yeah, and it's like we make the stuff because that is like the love we're giving to the world.
Yeah.
It's hard to constantly keep going to different avenues and giving that love all the time. You just wouldn't have any like time left to do the actual thing itself.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I don't like genuinely appreciate people that like my stuff. Because that's awesome. And now I feel worse.
No, I think to back you here and maybe bridge the gap between us that I've created by bringing this to the table. I think it is a case of everything in moderation, whether that is the hate you receive online or the love. I see them both in the same light of a lot of both is too much.
Yeah.
If a video of mine does really well, which has happened in the past, and people messaging me, I saw your video on the news or whatever, I don't like it. I don't like it as much as I don't like someone saying, hey, you, man, I hate your video. And that happens.
Yeah.
But I'd rather just not tune into both.
Yes.
I'd rather just make the thing I'm making.
I think that's it as well, because sometimes the response you get is so varied that like you just like, I'm going to put it out there and then it's out of my hands, and I don't really care.
That's the big Gary V viewpoint, is like, you actually, like, people say don't care about other people's opinions, but that also means don't take the validation of like the good opinions and the good feedback. It's just, you got to, you know, kind of zone it all out and stay in your zone, you know?
But then I think often, like, yeah, with that, and this is kind of straying a bit from the William Boyd bonanza.
That's okay. It's nice to talk about how to like manage this, and I'll bring up some stuff later. Yeah, go on.
Well, I think that with that, like, I always think, well, who at the end of the day, whose like opinion of me do I like care about more? And it's like, is it randoms on the internet who are like trashing me in my comment section, or is it like my partner, my parents, my brother, and like those kinds of people?
Mikey
like
D. Joel Harris.
Mikey D. Joel Harris, my friends,
You weren't getting there.
but you know what I mean? Like, I guess it's like I would rather be paying attention to those people and like, yeah, my IRL friends than like people that are on the internet like commenting on my stuff and generally being mean or whatever, really.
Have just such a small viewpoint of who you actually are as a human.
Yes, that's it. It's like this 1 centimeter thing of my life, and I think TikTok actually does, and social media does, like, make you see people as like, yeah, like a small vision of them, and you form your whole opinion based on that.
Yeah.
Which is bad.
Yeah, people are surprised, like, because we've been putting out so many clips of the Sharehouse, and some of them have done pretty well, especially in Australia.
Yeah.
I've got people at work now being like, why were you on my Instagram? Like, people who don't know I do a podcast, and they're so shocked at seeing me on a podcast because I'm just like, I'm a different person.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing this thing here, and then I'll go to work and I'll be in like a different kind of work mode, Joel Harris, and it really, like, people can't comprehend the different pieces.
It's crazy. Like, I used to go to this cafe where I used to live, and like would just chat to the barista there every morning. Same guy, lovely guy. And then one morning I came in, and it was like the day after I did a sketch with Jack Post that like got like 7 million views or something.
This one?
No, it was
Sky Boy?
I can't even remember which one it was.
We're big fans of you.
Oh, yeah, it was one of them. But then I went into the cafe, and that day, like, it was now, I saw you in this sketch, because I never said like what I do or anything.
Gotcha.
So it was just like, I don't know, it's weird. But yeah.
Well, I think that's how people can get disappointed as well. You might have a Will Boyd experience. You get disappointed when you meet your idols or have a connection with them, because you build up such an image, and this isn't any new territory we're treading on right now, but you build up such an image of that person. You get so excited about them, and you start to gravitate towards them for certain reasons you've built up.
Yeah.
You don't know how they even walk in a day-to-day scenario. Their
Well, at the
mannerisms.
time, I was actually doing Walk Pod, where I just filmed me walking. So I'm just joking.
He was a big fan. He would have known. He was on the Patreon only
That
side
was
of content.
Patreon exclusive, just Mike walking, and I would
You're a
just film it.
visionary.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
It is, it's really hard. I hated transparently, and I've kind of spoken about this a little bit. I used to do live streams, as you know.
Yes.
And it used to get a pretty large audience coming through the door. And I started to hate every moment towards the end, because people knew so much about me, but they still only saw me in this very confined little space.
Yeah.
And it felt wrong. It felt wrong that I was cultivating that relationship with people when it just doesn't feel like a very real thing. I don't want people to be a fan of me for my personality. I want them to be a fan of me for the stuff I put out and create.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to go from that and go, oh, I love the Sharehouse. I love Mikey as a human. I don't want you to love me. I don't even need you to like me. Just like the stuff I make and leave it at that.
Yeah.
Like the music, leave it at that. Like the DJing performance, leave it at that.
I haven't really spoken about this on air, but I used to live stream on Twitch as well back kind of mid 2019-ish. And sometimes it does create we're kind of in an age of parasocial relationships, it feels like. But with the people you interacted with, like on the stream in real time, sometimes it creates this weird entitlement for the viewer, where they believe they're entitled to have access to you, have knowledge all about you at all times. Like, I'd have people messaging me throughout the day and then be annoyed when I wasn't available for them. It's like, I already make myself so available for you at a certain time. You can't, it's my life. You can't have everything. Like, I know that streaming is such a live environment.
Especially if money transact, if there's payment.
Yeah, people are paying for you to keep going.
Well, I was going to say as well, like, maybe what some people don't realize, maybe about me and you guys as well, is like, I don't make a living off any of the content I make. Like,
We're running at a loss.
yeah,
Yeah, really.
I'm running at a loss, and I've been doing it for 6 years. Like,
Yeah.
the business in inverted commas that I run with my stuff, no one would advise you to continue
Yeah.
doing it, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, I do other jobs that like bring in income that it's like they're not like my passion, but I do it, and I go and I make money that I can pay my rent and like my bills and stuff. But like, yeah, I think people, and I get it, like think that like you're accessible all the time, but like often I'm actually just at work having a normal day at work where I have to do
100%.
work stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, like,
And you have relationships to foster, family relationships
Yeah.
to foster. But again, it's that whole, you view your, and I do that, I'm guilty of it as well, for sure. Viewing whoever I look at online as this crazy creature being, this omnipotent being of, they're not a human like me. They don't have the regular day-to-day wiping your ass duties like I do.
they
It's like,
are.
It's all, I think with us, we live such full lives already, and we're putting all of this, our own creative endeavors and ventures just on top of that already, which is like, it's hard to just live a normal life in the first place and keep all that managed.
100%. Yeah. It's tough. And like, yeah, you'll find a lot of the creators that you follow on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whoever they are, unless they're like really big, like they're all working at cafes or just working normal office jobs.
Doing
Maybe
something.
they're doing part-time work, so they have a few days a week to do their creative stuff. And not many of us make a living off doing our own stuff.
Yeah.
And like, that's just part of the game. Like, that's just part of what you agree to if you want to do this, is that, hey, this isn't like the most financially smart decision you could make, but if it's something you're passionate about doing, like,
Exactly.
it's fine. Yeah.
And like, we're not going to tell you about the day job or like the barista work we do,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
that, we don't want to cry about like being bogged down in it, because we do it because we love it, but it's just not like, that's not the person that I want to be. I don't want to be like, hey, yeah, I'm a merchandiser and it's exhausting and
Yeah.
yada 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 yada.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing that pays for me to do the thing
Yeah.
that I'm doing right now, and I would like to just talk about that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And that's the part of my life that you see. It's like that, the parts that I'm choosing to share. Like, you don't see the stuff with like family or like, you know, other relationships and stuff that are happening in my life. Like, because I don't talk about that stuff that much. Like, I very rarely talk about my parents. I very rarely like talk about my family on my podcast and stuff. Like, I kind of try to more now, but historically I haven't, and just because like that's not what I share.
It's social media commentating about your dad and the work he did on the roof. That's not quite the fit.
I mean, to be fair, I've treaded down that territory of sharing things about my life that are, you know, quite detailed and personal, and I don't think I would do it again now. I mean, we do this podcast and we do talk a lot of things about our lives, but it's very selective of what we actually mention, and it's pretty specific to share housing.
And it's always like from a perspective of bringing value. Like, I had this experience, so you can have knowledge if you ever enter this kind of experience and the way to go about it.
I think people that like vloggers specifically, I think it's such a burnout territory. You just show your life and people just love your life. That is a
But also,
wild
like,
world to be in.
What is your life when like everything is... I sometimes think with like the Kardashians and stuff, which like total respect to like what they've built and everything, but I'm like, wouldn't your whole life kind of be a bit different if there were just cameras following you all the time and you had to like be on for it?
Performative all the time.
Yeah.
You hear about the Casey Neistats and like how it brought in marital troubles and just like when every part of your life is revealed,
Documented.
all the vloggers getting cancelled on TikTok. And
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't, as well, you can't have the greatest things to say 24/7.
Yeah.
Every human that has gone online to try and cancel someone has said some absolute atrocious garbage, either they're too tired or too drunk, that it's not the right thing to say, and you've put your foot in it.
Yeah.
And imagine putting out something every day like a Casey Neistat, vlogging every day, or the Kardashians having a camera crew around all the time.
Yeah.
You're going to put your foot in it occasionally and say something stupid.
Yeah.
Feeling anger is like a normal emotion too. I had to
Yeah.
realize that about that. I'm like, oh, I feel angry right now, but I don't want people to know because I don't want to be like an angry man kind of archetype.
Yeah.
But it's like, anger's very normal. And like, you don't want to, if there's cameras on all the time, like you're just going to be caught in like a normal, like natural emotional state of anger. But then all of a sudden that like becomes a whole flavor of your personality to the public.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't want that out there
No.
at all.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really tough. tough.
Anyway, so I think I have the solution for you.
Anyway, sorry, William
podcast
Boyd.
Mike.
Yeah.
I think to make amends, you could go on the Friend of the Pod podcast.
I will 100% go. I'd love to go on. I love doing... Can I put it out to anyone? I love doing guest podcast appearances. And if you want me to come on your pod, I'll 100% do it. But just like, you know, make it easy for me. Like, I don't want to have to like bring my gear or anything. Like if you just like, hey, come to this address.
He's got his roadcaster.
Yeah, like just like I love doing them. I'm doing another one today after this, so I tried to book them all around the same time. But yeah, I want to do them. So yeah, I'll definitely go on. What does he do on Friend of the Pod? Is it just like chatting?
Friend of the Pod is like the premise is that. They do like character comedy, like kind of improv character comedy. So Friend of the Pod is like they'll do a knock and then someone will bring in a character. Like I was on it and I was a sleepy boy, and then Freddy Krueger came in and I was playing Freddy Krueger.
Spoilers, no spoilers.
It's online,
dude. I want to do that pod. I love that shit. Please put me on.
Done.
Well,
done. I think we've mended it and nurtured a new friendship.
Put it there.
I still haven't met William.
You will in his house now. On the 42nd floor of the West Footscray building, I think is the location they disclosed.
Okay.
That's what they say on the pod.
Hey,
it's real.
That's been the Sharehouse, and this has been Radio Mike. Radio Mike, plug what you need to plug, please.
Follow me on Insta at radio.mike or TikTok. Basically everywhere is Radio Mike, and my pods are 20th Century Boy and Harry Potter and the Boys. And Mikey, you're having a shower later? Is that what you wanted to plug?
I'm feeling a bit sweaty and the house is hot, so I'm going to have a shower. You can catch that around 4 p.m.
Twitch.tv/MikeyD Twitch.
Yeah. Uncensored version on Patreon later. Have you guys got a Patreon? You should start one.
We don't Patreon yet. One day.
Yeah.
One day.
It's in the cards for sure. Yeah, Stay tuned.
Nice.
We're happy to keep hemorrhaging finances. But until then, you can message us at sharehousepod@gmail.com. Sharehousepod across all social platforms.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
And if you want to support the Sharehouse pod financially, at this stage while they don't have a Patreon, just jump on patreon.com/RadioMike and I'll put I'll just chuck the cash into their account.
Leave a note there that this is not for Mike. Hey, but make sure you tell someone you love them today.
Bye.